The holidays, a time to give to others and yourself. At Metro, buy a select Samsung Galaxy or LG and get a second free with an unlimited LTE plan. We're talking massive HD screens, up to 64 gigs of memory, and an incredible 16-megapixel camera. It's happy holidays for you and them. Stop by Metro today. Metro by T-Mobile. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Free phone must be on new line of service. Phone free after all instant rebates. Free phone of lesser or equal value. If congested, the fraction of customers using more than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds. And Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus T-Mobile due to prioritization. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Hello, everyone. This is Tony Kaufman with the World Class Mentors. We've got a special guest on today. One of my favorite people in the world is Natalie Lynn Jordan. Natalie is a natural leader, such as few you'll ever see. She has years of experience. She is inspirational, and she provides listeners with a solid strategy for self-improvement. She's been in the industry for many, many years. She has a lot to offer others who are drawn to this field. Today, she works to create leaders equipped with determination and strategies to meet their goals. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you for having me, Tony. It's great to be here.
So you're in wonderful Louisiana this morning, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm actually home, which is unusual, so yes.
A note to my listeners, Natalie is an accomplished world traveler, and I live vicariously through her Facebook.
We do enjoy traveling, that's for sure.
Well, Natalie, you've got such an incredible story, and I've heard you speak from stage a couple of times, and I've had the pleasure of working with you for the past year, and I'd like to share with you and with our listeners part of the idea of having this show that's called the World Class Mentors is because I get to select people that are truly world class. And you've been doing tons of training, and you've developed a lot of manuals and courses and things like that for the Direct Selling World Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I work with the Direct Selling World Alliance, and I have the privilege of teaching their intellectual property. And, a little background, I was started in direct sales when I had a young family, just for something to get me out of the house. And I realized that there was such a need for this for so many people. And as I started developing that and realizing that the training wasn't all there that needed to be there all the time to be successful. And so as I realized that and I started developing that training and finding techniques that worked, and then with the help of the Direct Selling World Alliance, the DSWA, I took some of their practices and put them into play in my life and saw even more achievement happening around me. And so it was so exciting that I was able to implement that training with a lot of the techniques that I already used. And now I get to work side by side with them and teach so many people that the things that they've developed and that they've taught through teaching their coaching schools and their different trainings. And I feel very privileged to be able to do that. And I love seeing people become successful when they start implementing these. Just seeing their success jump by leaps and bounds is incredible.
Right. So what you're basically teaching is people to become successful through direct selling. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I really, direct selling is kind of my niche that I've, because that's what my background is in, that's what I know. But all these techniques that we teach can be applied to business in itself. And I have had people that are in business that have used it, but I really love the direct selling model of it because that's what I know and can really apply that. That's where my expertise is, definitely.
Well, that makes sense. So let me ask you this from a very elementary perspective. If you're teaching them how to become leaders in their direct sales organization. Now, to me, a direct sales is, work at home, home-based business, Mary Kay, Am I in the right direction?
Yeah, and I guess direct sales, it's also your network marketing and all of that, because not all of them are direct sales to where they're ordering and getting stuff sent. Some of them are automatic ship, so you have some of your vitamin companies like Thrive and USANA, and some of those that aren't typically considered direct sales. They're more network marketing. But that home-based business probably is really more towards what it is. And what I like to say is I like to develop leaders that can develop other leaders, because they might already be a leader, but they might feel like they're pulling their whole team doing so much work. But through the techniques that we teach them how to be a leader with people following them and not dragging them behind. They're walking on the sides of them. They're doing it cohesively. So as they develop themselves and they're developing their people underneath them, they're not just developing them how to be successful. They're developing them how to be leaders of leaders also. And so the organization just grows so much more smoothly. People don't get burned out as fast, because when one person is trying to do all the work all the time, you can only go like that for so long.
That's an excellent point. So, Natalie, let's talk a little bit about you. I mean, part of the show, the format of the show is that we talk about what makes you world leader, and we celebrate you and what you've accomplished in all this time and what you've dedicated your life to. But the second part of our show is dedicated, as we say in Texas, you dance with the one who brung you. So we celebrate who were your mentors. So can you give us a glimpse into Natalie Lynn Jordan, the little girl, and who were your mentors?
I think growing up, I had great parents, a great upbringing, who they always taught me to be natural leaders in just the way that they raised me. My mother she taught me how when you do something, and my father, when you do something, you don't do it just halfway, you do it all the way. And I think because of that, what I learned from them, of not doing something halfway, you do it all the way. It gave me that work ethic that I didn't just dip my toes in when I started a project. I wanted to jump all in, but I didn't want to just jump all in and not be successful. I wanted to jump all in and be successful. And I think that was just from the upbringing that I had, that, when you start something, you finish it. And when you choose to do something, you're dedicated to it. And all those little things being taught growing up, I know made me into who I am today. And, growing up, I never would have thought, I'm gonna really take off and do direct sales. But I wanted to be a mom, because that's what my mom was. There were 8 children in my family, and I always just wanted to be a mom. And I realized that I could still be a mom and still do something on the side, because I needed that. I needed being a mom and being around kids all the time, and I needed some adult conversation for myself. And I was able to do it in a way with my husband that, a couple nights a week, he would take the kids, and I would go out and do parties or whatever, trainings or whatever it is. And he was so supportive of me. And that's another reason why I'm successful, is because of my husband and the support that he gave me. I remember when our kids were young and I would have a party that was an hour away or whatever, he would load all the kids up and take me. And he would take the kids to McDonald's or do whatever with them while I was at my party, and then come pick me up, and we would drive home. It was a family activity. And I think just knowing that it was never just a goal for me, it was something for me, but it was also for my family, because it gave us it gave me extra spending money and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And you're right, those people, you have those good people to influence you to be successful. Typically, it doesn't happen without that. So there's always those behind-the-scenes people that encourage you and have molded me into who I am today.
Now, you were an avid sportsman, right?
I was, actually. I was very athletic in high school, and actually when my kids started school, they go to a small private school, and they were just developing the high school program, and I actually coached their boys varsity basketball team for 4 years at this high school, because I thought, one of the dads is going to step up. But no one did. And I guess it's just kind of that work ethic that you think, okay, this needs to be done. So I stepped up and did it. And as the program got developed, we finally have a real coach, I should say, because I don't want to say we didn't win a lot of games. The joke is that the kids would be like, "Oh, Miss Natalie, can we go get an icy?" And I'm like, "All right, let's go get ices during practice, and then we'll come back and finish practice." That was typically our practice, so that's kind of how it went.
That's really cute. I bet you were a wonderful basketball coach.
Well, the boys loved me. It didn't mean that we won a lot of games, but we sure had a lot of fun.
I love it. And you know, exactly. It just comes through. Your work ethic comes through, and the reason that you have become as successful as you are comes through. And you're right. It's because you give it all you've got. And it's that 110% effort that's really worth so much. Now, you've got, and if it's okay, I mean, I've heard you speak before, and you spoke about some of the trials that that kind of present themselves endlessly to you. Do you want to go through what I think made you one of the strongest women and role models that I've ever met, and an inspiration to me? Okay.
Yeah, and especially because I think there's people out there that might be going through the same thing, and so to kind of condense this long story, when after we got married, we moved away from home. My husband was in school, and we eventually ended up settling here in Louisiana. And we have no family here, but we just felt like, you know, we prayed and we just knew that this is where God wanted us to be. And as we were here, not long after we moved here, well, probably about 3 or 4 years after we moved here, my oldest son, actually it wasn't even that long, it was about 2 years after we moved here, my oldest son, Andrew, his foot was cut in a lawnmower accident and partially amputated. And I remember thinking, and it was a devastating experience, because I remember just thinking, he's going to be different, kids are going to make fun of him, you know, how are we going to do this? But I distinctly remember thinking, this is going to be the big trial in our life. If we could get through this, then I can handle anything. And although we were, you know, about 3 weeks in the hospital, and they had to, you know, fix some things, and actually today you wouldn't even know that he has a problem. He walks with an insert in his shoe and everything's fine. But I remember thinking that. I remember thinking that everything's going to be fine if we could just get through this. And that's one thing that I don't think that anyone should ever say, because I didn't realize even more that was going to come. A year later after this, it was just over a year, after Andrew had his foot accident, we ended up buying our first home. And the day that we were moving in, my youngest son at the time, Brendan, who was 25 and a half months, got out of the house somehow while we were moving stuff in. And you know how moving day is. It's very chaotic. And he drowned in our neighbor's pool. And that was a very devastating time. And I remember being at the hospital, and my husband had worked at the hospital at the time, and so I felt like they were doing everything that they could. Our pediatrician came over, and they were just doing everything they could to revive him. It was in December, so he was cold, too, also. I'm not sure. He was probably in the pool for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, because I had put a movie on in the back, and I thought he was back there watching a movie with his brother. And I remember being at that whole weekend. I walked around like a zombie, I'm sure, and our community came together and helped us move into our house because we were in between houses. And I remember being at the funeral home on Monday, planning his funeral, and I just knew that I didn't want to be this sad person. I didn't want to be that person that lost a child and no longer functions in life. And I just remember saying a prayer and just having this overwhelming feeling come over me that everything was going to be okay, and that it was okay for me to be happy, and that I still had 3 kids at home. I had my youngest, who was only 2 months old. And I remember just being okay with being happy, and that it was okay. And I knew at that time, I realized that happiness was a choice, and that it doesn't matter what is happening in your life. You decide when your feet hit the floor in the morning how you're going to be, whether it's going to be a good day or a bad day. And only you can decide that. The situation can't decide that. And I remember every day after that knowing, okay, I can make it a good day or I can make it a bad day. And I decided that I didn't want to make it a bad day. I wanted my kids to have a good time growing up. I wanted them to be happy. And so I made that decision every day to be happy. And so many people asked me, how are you functioning? How are you doing this? And, when I realized that it was all because of a decision that I made, that it was very impactful to me, but it also was impactful because I realized that it doesn't matter what's happening in someone's life. No matter how you decide to act, it's up to you. And we were able to get through that. Fast forward about 10 years after that, after Brendan died, my second oldest son, Logan, was having problems with his leg. My husband's a physical therapist. They thought it was a tight muscle. Come to find out, he had a tumor in his leg. And it was huge. It was his entire thigh. And they sent us over to MD Anderson. And when they told us the diagnosis and said, all right, we're going to have to start chemo, and we can't even go in and just cut it out because it would deform his leg and all these things. And I remember leaving Houston and driving back to Louisiana and just crying. And I just told my husband, I'm like, how could this be happening? One more thing. How can one more thing be happening? I kind of got down in my little pity party, which I know better than. But from great examples of my kids, my son at the time, who was only 14, he said to me, Mom, what is the worst thing that could happen? I could die and go be with my brother. And at that point I realized, okay, that's a pretty bad thing, I think, but it's not the worst thing that could happen. I know that we got through it. And I took a deep breath, and, we actually had a miracle come out of that, because a few days later, when we got the call for the results from the biopsy, they called us, the doctor, and he's like, I don't know. I can't even explain to you what happened. We don't see any cancer cells. And he said, I've seen this tumor over. We know what it is. They had a panel of doctors looking at it and deciding what to do and how to move forward. And he said, all I can tell you, it's a modern day miracle that there's absolutely no cancer cells in that. And I feel like that was a blessing. And I feel like, modern day miracles happen today, but I think my positive attitude helped a lot with it, and the outlook that we had on life. And, you just take things how it goes. And all of those experiences in my life have definitely developed me into the strong person that I am today. And to be able to continue to go through and do everything that I was doing while going through all that was, I feel like it was an incredible thing.
Natalie, again, you are absolutely my inspiration. You're so strong. And you know what? I love the way that you just get on a stage and walk people through what most normal people would say, this is like the absolute worst that can happen, and then show us the light at the end and how to keep going forward. I mean, I just absolutely love that about you.
Oh, thank you.
So we talked a little bit about what made you successful, what your drive is, what your faith is, even through what most people would call the worst thing that could ever happen in their lives, and you still go through it, and you still have this wonderful energy. Tell me what you've got planned in your near future here. How are you going to share all of this at a much larger scale? What are you planning on now?
Well, I have a keynote speaking event that I'm doing in a couple of months, and I do a lot of little speaking events where I love to just go in and help small organizations, where I just go in and talk to them and give them some training and do whatever it is that we need to do to get their organization to where it needs to be for them to be successful. And I think a lot of it is also finding out what success looks like for somebody, and going into these organizations and especially if you have a top leader and they have all these big aspirations of what they want their organization to be. When they start talking to other people, not all of them want that. That's not what success looks like for them. So to be able to go into an organization and find out what success looks like for everyone and help develop that around what everyone sees, that's huge. So that's what I like to do. I love to go in and get on stages and talk to people and then go into the smaller organizations also and help small groups. So that's really kind of what I have on my plate the next few months. I do kind of tend to take the summers off and spend them with my family, which I absolutely love, and because I feel like my family comes first. And so, there's traveling obviously in our future, but I do have business intermingled in there, definitely things to do and people to reach out to. So I'm really excited about what's coming up.
I think you're a perfect example of something that most people are striving to achieve, and that's work-life balance. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, having a wonderful husband, you've got a great family, and then you've got this wonderful drive. Natalie, how do people get a hold of you if they want to book you for an event, keynote, or otherwise?
Well, they can email me at natalielynnjordan@gmail, and that's NATALIELYNNJORDAN @gmail. They can go to my website directly at natalielynnjordan.com, and there's a link on there also that they can click on, and there's some information on there of different things. And so that's probably the easiest way to do that, is just get on there and check things out and reach out to me.
I love it. Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, guys, if any of you are planning to have a great gathering or meeting and want a fantastic keynote speaker, I heartily recommend Natalie Lynn Jordan. She's just dynamic, and she's powerful, and her life stories are life-changing. And you're right, Natalie, I think people need to hear that, because it's so easy to get into, a dark funk whenever something like this happens to you, and some people just can't pull themselves back out. So you are a light in the nighttime, and I certainly appreciate what you've done. Now you're in Lafayette. Is that where you are?
I'm just south of Lafayette. Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is fun territory up there. There's a lot of festivals, a lot of good meals. There's
oh yeah.
They know how to take advantage and enjoy life.
Yes, they do. We do.
You were born in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Which is quite a difference.
Oh,
from,
definitely. Yes, quite a difference from Lafayette. But you know what? We've lived here for 20 years, and I feel like that this area is now home. This is where we call home, even though all of our family is still out in Utah and the base of it's still out there. But Louisiana is home for us. And but I love to travel all over the United States and see all different places, and I think that's one of my favorite things about what I do, is I get to see so many different places with what I do, because I travel all over the U.S.
Absolutely love it. All right, any words out to any people who? Here's the last part of the show. What I usually do is I talk about how our world-class mentors are paying it forward and the legacy that they're leaving. So, dream into your future, and I see how you're paying it forward. But what legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah. I think that one day when it's finally my turn to leave this earth and I have my funeral, I guess, so to speak, I hope that people can see me as somebody that made a difference in their life, that could be that light in what's can be a very dark place on this earth. I want them to know success and not just dream it, but see it. And I think that those are two key things. And, if we can all have some small and simple things that we try and do every day in our life, they really turn out to be big things by the time we have the end of our lives come. And I think that's really what I want to leave for my legacy.
Absolutely love it. So, folks, you've been listening to the World Class Mentors, and this is our radio show. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Natalie for a wonderful interview. The World Class Mentors is a radio show and podcast that celebrates people who have achieved truly world-class status through sharing their stories and honoring their mentors. So, Natalie, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
You're such an inspiration. I absolutely love having you. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
My health is important, but I don't want my health insurance to break the bank. That's why FEP Blue Focus is perfect for me. It offers nationwide coverage, and my first 10 doctor visits a year are just $10 each. I can also earn rewards for getting my annual checkup. Even better, it's all backed by the strength and security of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program.
Find out if FEP Blue Focus is right for you. Visit askblue.fepblue.org today.